You there? Obadiah, chapter 1. There only is one chapter. Obadiah, verse 1. The vision of Obadiah, thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. So Obadiah prophesied God's judgment against Edom. Edom. So that's where Edom was. Just south of Israel and Judah. And the Edomites were the descendants of Esau. Esau was the twin brother of Jacob. See the resemblance there? In their eyes? Not their hair. Twin brother of Jacob, who was the son of Isaac. Jacob was the son of Isaac, and Isaac was the son of Abraham. So you should know these names off by heart. Abraham was the father of the Jewish nation, and his son was Isaac, and Isaac's son was Jacob. And Jacob's twin brother, Esau. All right, so they were not identical twins. Esau means red. So Esau, he had a red complexion, and he had red hair. And he was hairy. He was a hairy man, it says. And Jacob was a smooth man. He didn't have a lot of hair. So Esau was the firstborn. And so he had the birthright. But he gave it up one day to Jacob for one bowl of soup. One bowl of soup. So he'd been out hunting, didn't get anything, came back hungry, and Jacob was making soup. And Esau said to Jacob, "Give me of your soup. I'm hungry. Oh, I'm so hungry." And Jacob said to him, "Give me your birthright." So the birthright meant that the firstborn, they would get the inheritance. "Give me your birthright." And Esau, he said, "Oh, I'm so hungry. I'm going to starve to death." So Esau gave to Jacob the birthright. Talk about a lopsided deal. So Esau, he was an idiot. He was a fool. The Bible says that Esau despised his birthright. He was materialistic, temporal-minded, rather than eternally-minded, just like a lot of people today. Then Jacob deceived his father Isaac into giving him the blessing of the firstborn, which, since Esau gave it to him, Jacob really wasn't stealing it. He was getting what was rightfully his. But their father, Isaac, he wanted to give the blessing to Esau because Esau was the firstborn. And so Jacob, he tricked his father into giving him the blessing. So Isaac was blind by this time. And Jacob, he came to his father. He had hair from an animal put on his arms and around his neck. And Isaac, he said, Jacob said to Isaac, his father, said, "Arise, my father, and eat, and bless me." And Isaac, he said, "Is that you, Esau? Sounds like Jacob." And he said, "Come here, come close to me." And he felt his arms and his neck. And he said, "The voice sounds like Jacob, but you feel like Esau." And so he gave Jacob the blessing of the firstborn. Jacob got the blessing that really belonged to him anyhow, since he had the birthright. But Esau didn't see it that way, and he tried to kill Jacob. So Jacob ran from Esau, and some time had passed, and Jacob was blessed, and he returned home, and he met up with Esau, and Esau forgave him. But even though Esau forgave him, Esau was at odds with Jacob, and all of the descendants of Esau were mean and cruel with Israel. They were tenaciously and constantly hostile from the beginning, after the Exodus to the end, and after the exile to Babylon. When Israel left the wilderness and entered into the land of promise, when Israel left the wilderness and they entered into the land of promise, even though Esau was mean to Israel, God told Israel that they were not to take any of the land of the Edomites. So keep your place there in Obadiah, and we're going to look at Deuteronomy chapter 2. Deuteronomy chapter 2. 1 through 5. It's talking about the Israelites here. It says, "Then we turned and took our journey into the wilderness by the way of the Red Sea, as the Lord spake unto me. And we compassed Mount Seir many days." Mount Seir is right there where the word Edom is. "And the Lord spake unto me, saying, Ye have compassed this mountain long enough. Turn you northward, and command thou the people, saying, Ye are to pass through the coast of your brethren, the children of Esau, which dwell in Seir, and they shall be afraid of you. Take ye good heed unto yourselves, therefore, meddle not with them." Don't cause them any trouble. "For I will not give you of their land," God says, "no, not so much as a footbreadth, because I have given Mount Seir unto Esau for a possession." So, Seir, Edom, belonged to the descendants of Esau. God told the Israelites, they were coming out of the wilderness and they were going into the promised land, and they would be driving out the inhabitants of the land and taking over, and they would be dividing up the land among the 12 tribes of Israel. God said, don't meddle with the Edomites. Don't cause them any trouble. Don't take any of their land. Don't try to take any of their land, because I've given that to them. Then, even though the Edomites were helped by God, and God gave them this part of land, the Edomites would not help the Israelites. So the Israelites, they're coming out of the wilderness and they're going to the promised land, and they wanted to go through the land of the Edomites, pass through. And they told him, said, we're not going to hurt you, we're not going to do anything to you. Let us go through. Well, the Edomites, they said, no, we're not going to let you do that. We don't want you to. And so the Edomites, they made the Israelites back up and go around, all the way around the land of Edom in order to get to the land of promise. And that's where the tip of that arrow, that is the Jordan River, which they passed over and fought the Battle of Jericho on the other side. But instead of letting them go through, they wouldn't let them, and they had to go all the way out around. Well, in the book of Judges, it tells us about that. In chapter 11, Judges chapter 11, in verse 16, but when Israel came up from Egypt and walked through the wilderness unto the Red Sea and came to Kadesh, then Israel sent messengers unto the king of Edom. The Israelites sent messengers to the king of Edom. What kind of messengers? Well, ambassadors. Ambassadors are representative of a country. They sent ambassadors to the Edomites, saying, let me, I pray thee, pass through thy land. But the king of Edom would not hearken thereto. And in like manner they sent it to the king of Moab, and he would not consent. And Israel abode in Kadesh. So, even though they were helped by God, the Edomites received this land from God, they would not help the Israelites, would not allow them to pass through their land. All right, back to Obadiah. And let's look at verse 1 again. The vision of Obadiah. Thus saith the Lord God concerning Edom. We have heard a rumor from the Lord, and an ambassador is sent among the heathen. Arise ye, and let us rise up against her in battle. An ambassador, representative for one nation to another. The ambassadors of the Israelites were sent to Edom when Israel came out of the wilderness to enter the promised land of Canaan. Edom would not help the Israelites. Now, God is saying to Edom, since you wouldn't help then, now an ambassador is sent against you to proclaim battle as part of God's judgment on you. All right, verse 2. Behold, I have made thee small among the heathen. Thou art greatly despised. Edom, not very big, just that small section below the Dead Sea. And God says that they were greatly despised. Nobody else liked Edom either. Edomites, they were that bad. They were mean to everyone. Verse 3. The pride of thine heart hath deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? So, here's a aerial view, topographical view of what we just saw here. And so you have Mediterranean Sea up here. Can you see that? That's probably better like that. Mediterranean Sea, Israel, Judah, the Dead Sea. And here's Edom. Edom's here, Edom's here. On this side of the valley, there's the Gulf of Aqaba. And this is a high wall here. Might not be easy to see that. So here's another picture for you. All right, so this is what you would have to scale in order to get to Edom from, the Dead Sea side. At an altitude of over 5,000 feet, who's going to go up that? That's straight up. And Edom, they were proud. No one can get us. We're strong. They thought they were invincible from invaders. And when you think you're strong, look out. Look out. The Titanic, they said, was a ship that God couldn't even sink. Oh, don't say that. Whenever you hear things like that, run the other way. Because God can do it. So the Edomites, they thought that they were all right, that nothing could get them. Verse 4. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle. So I can imagine that there'd be some eagle nest in those rocks. And though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. The eagle has landed. That was a name given to the lunar spacecraft. And it went to the moon. Though thou set thy nest among the stars. Then there's the terrestrial star, Mars. We hear of men planning to inhabit it. Go ahead. I don't want it. I'm not going there. The Lord said to the Edomites, though thou set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down. Man is so proud of his accomplishments, as if it makes him smarter or stronger than God is. Though thou exalt thyself as the eagle, and though thou set thy nest among the stars, Thence will I bring thee down, saith the Lord. So Edom was brought down, ceased to be a nation when Babylon invaded in 553 BC. 553 BC. All right, verse 5. If thieves came to thee, if robbers by night, how art thou cut off? Would they not have stolen till they had had enough? If the grape gatherers came to thee, would they not leave some grapes? How are the things of Esau searched out? How are his hidden things sought up? Thieves robbed houses, and grape gatherers stripped vineyards. Yet both of them, they left a little bit behind that they didn't carry off. But God's destruction of Edom would be so complete that nothing at all would remain of her. Verse 7, all the men of thy confederacy have brought thee even to the border. Their confederacy, their allies. Edom's allies would treacherously betray it and prove to be the worst of enemies. They would fail to assist her in her hour of greatest need. This loyalty would completely surprise, ambush the Edomites. You know, if the Edomites would have listened to Obadiah's warning, then, maybe they could have averted that, but they didn't. They didn't. Verse 8, shall I not in that day, saith the Lord, even destroy the wise men out of Edom, and understanding out of the mount of Esau? Because of Edom's communication with Babylon and Egypt, and because of the information gleaned through the caravans going to and from Europe and India, Edom had gained an enviable reputation for wisdom. God would destroy Edom's famous wise men and their understanding by allowing them to fail to detect the unfaithfulness of their allies. Warning, without God, you become dumber and dumber. So they were wise, and they lost their wisdom. Verse 9, and thy mighty men, O Teman, shall be dismayed, to the end that every one of the mount of Esau may be cut off by slaughter. God tells them, when this happens, you're going to be like a little dog running with its tail between its legs. You're going to be like a little child that has a horrible nightmare. You're going to cry like a little girl. They'll be dismayed. Verse 10, for thy violence against thy brother Jacob, shame shall cover thee, and thou shalt be cut off forever. Violence includes both physical brutality and moral wrong. Last week we saw how that in Amos' time, Edom bought Israelis and Judeans as slaves. In this verse, Obadiah used the name Jacob to refer to Israel, to make the offense of Esau, his twin brother, more striking. And then the next 4 verses was the crime that broke the camel's back. They failed to help Judah in their hour of need. When Babylon invaded Israel in 586 BC, instead of helping, they stood aloof and watched joyfully as Israel's invader plundered Jerusalem. Verse 11, in the day that thou stoodest on the other side, in the day that the strangers carried away captive his forces, and foreigners entered into his gates, and cast lots upon Jerusalem, even thou wast as one of them. Edom did not help Judah when the Babylonians invaded Jerusalem. Verse 12, but thou shouldest not have looked on the day of thy brother, in the day that he became a stranger, neither shouldest thou have rejoiced over the children of Judah in the day of their destruction, neither shouldest thou have spoken proudly in the day of distress. Edom rejoiced over the demise of Judah, ridiculed and criticized them. They're getting They're getting theirs. Verse 13. Thou shouldest not have entered into the gate of my people in the day of their calamity. Yea, thou shouldest not have looked on their affliction in the day of their calamity, nor have laid hands on their substance in the day of their calamity. The Edomites were guilty of looting. Looting. Remind you of anything of our current time? Yeah. That's stealing. Yeah. And that's what the Edomites did. They took advantage. Verse 14. Neither shouldest thou have stood in the crossway to cut off those of his that did escape. Neither shouldest thou have delivered up those of his that did remain in the day of distress. So when the Babylonians came against the Judeans, the Edomites, instead of helping the Judeans, they snitched on them. They ratted on them. They turned in the Judeans to the Babylonians. And there were other Edomites that imprisoned fleeing Judeans instead of giving them refuge. Before we conclude today, a couple important lessons that we can learn from this. God cares about all peoples. God let the Edomites have their land. He didn't run them out. He told Israel to leave them alone. God cares about all people. Right now, there's Iranians, Palestinians, Hamas. The news doesn't show how those who occupy the land of promise are mistreating their neighbors. But all you see is the other side. And Americans, Christians, politicians, Christians' idea should be to send missionaries to these people who need to hear the gospel. Instead, the mentality of many Christians and politicians is to send soldiers to kill, kill, kill. Eliminate Israel's neighbors. Shame on Christians for thinking that way. Another lesson that we learned from this, did you ever think, what if? What would the world be like if certain parties would have conceded rather than continue into battle? How many wars could have been averted? What if Edom would have been nice to Israel and allowed them to pass through? Then they would not have been destroyed by God. Obadiah proclaims judgment on Edom for all of its cruelty to its complete and utter destruction. Verse 15, for the day of the Lord is near upon all the heathen. As thou hast done, it shall be done unto thee. Thy reward shall return upon thine own head. For as ye have drunk upon my holy mountain, so shall all the children drink, shall all the heathen drink continually. Yea, they shall drink, and they shall swallow down, and they shall be as though they had not been. Complete and utter destruction of Edom as a nation, gone out of existence. Now, some of the Edomites still lived, and they became Idumeans. That's where the Herods came from. But there is no restoration given here in Obadiah for the Edomites. As a nation, they are gone. However, as with the other prophetic books, the restoration of Israel is in sight. Verse 17, but upon Mount Zion shall be deliverance, and there shall be holiness, and the house of Jacob shall possess their possessions. This hasn't happened yet. The city will become holy at the second coming of Christ. Verse 18, and the house of Jacob shall be a fire, and the house of Joseph a flame, and the house of Esau for stubble, and they shall kindle in them and devour them, and there shall not be any remaining of the house of Esau, for the Lord hath spoken it. So Obadiah distinctly mentions the house of Joseph, that's the 10 northern tribes of Israel, and he mentions the house of Jacob, that's the 10 tribes of Israel. The house of Joseph, that's the 2 southern tribes. They will be reunited when Christ returns. Verse 19, and they of the south shall possess the mount of Esau, and they of the plain the Philistines, and they shall possess the fields of Ephraim, and the fields of Samaria, and Benjamin shall possess Gilead. And the captivity of this host of the children of Israel shall possess that of the Canaanites, even unto Zarephath, and the captivity of Jerusalem, which is in Sepharad, shall possess the cities of the south. So Israel will have all of its land when Jesus comes. So the land around Israel that was inhabited by other peoples, they won't have that anymore. It will be all of Israel's one day. Verse 21, and saviors shall come up on Mount Zion to judge the mount of Esau, and the kingdom shall be the Lord's. In summary, those who deliver the true Jews to their divinely intended destiny will ascend Mount Zion. Christ's kingdom will extend over the whole promised land, even the part that Israel's enemies formerly occupied, and over the people who formerly opposed them. The conquest of the land that Joshua began but did not finish will be complete then. Obadiah's prophecy ends on a climax with God's kingdom dominating all the nations, with Jesus as King of Kings and Lord of Lords.